what's up? This is Sifu Cuddle, and in this Kung Fu combination, we're going to be working on some snake style. So go feed your snakes, and let's go get to work. Okay, before we get started, let's talk about snake hand position. I'm going to be using 3 different hand positions for this one. Our first and foremost is the typical snake strike. To do this one, you're going to flatten the palm, fingers are going to touch, and the thumb is going to be in on the side. Okay? Articulation from here is going to be from the wrist circling and the elbow circling as well. Okay? This gets some nice fluidity on the snake, but when you strike, you want this to be rigid. We're aiming for soft spots. We're going for the solar plexus, the throat, the eyes. So when we hit it, we go through it. If you're just going to finger jab, you would have the fingers more relaxed, but we're not doing that. We're jamming, we're gouging with this one. Okay? So fingertips together. The next one that we're going to do is open mouth snake. Open mouth snake is pretty much your snake, open mouth. It can talk. This is used more for blocking techniques, and in this position we're going to be doing a double block. This is more for a look, whereas you could just, in application, you'd be using this more forward rather than both sides out. Okay. The last position we're going to do is called snake tongue. Now snake tongue is, just like our snake head, we want to have that kind of snake tongue. So you're going to take your fingers, it's not a peace sign, so make sure your thumb is not touching your ring finger, and make sure that it's not sword fingers, so we're not having the fingertips together. We want these to be open, slightly relaxed. We want the thumb to come back and touch right here, okay? So this again, we want to have nice and relaxed so that we can split, go around the nose and poke the eyes, and even like this, we can keep a nice rigid position and strike to the throat. The last thing about snake tongue, and this is one of my personal pet peeves, so don't do it, is when you do it, don't let these fingertips hang down, because if your snake can walk, it's a lizard. Tuck those fingertips in, tuck the thumb in, now you've got your snake tongue. And we will be finishing up with a snake tongue that wiggles, that is actually pretty traditional, and it's more for the aesthetic that when you're doing, is he doing snake? Oh, he is, okay? So that's so people can see that this is the snake tongue. Otherwise, let's get to work. First thing I want to do is I'm moving back. So my opponent is moving in on me. I want to keep my shoulder, my hip forward as I strike, snake strike to the throat. So the regular snake head. My backhand is going to be at the waist right here, okay? This is something where you don't want to get stuck in the position. I'm not just going to wait here for forever. If my opponent is charging in, they're moving towards me, I'm using this to get distance. I'm not going to stay in this cross-legged stance for forever. So don't look at it, oh, it's not real, you cross your leg up. This is you want to keep balance if you're moving back in the unexpected. Okay? So again, training. All right, we step back 1, 2, and then we're going to go 3. Okay? Now notice I do a stealing horse, tao ma, then I go ting chi ma, then I go tao ma again for number 3. Now from here, I want you to think of opening the hands up and out, and then we're going to do our double open mouth snake to each side. So I'm going to cross my hands as I step left foot, open the hands, step around with the right foot, and then open up here. Okay? So again, starting from this position, 1, 2, 3, open up, and then hands come out. Okay? You can do this one a little bit more slow. I'm getting excited for that. Again, we have 1, 2, 3, open here. Now we're going to turn, Choy Li Fut butterfly kick, and then we're going to go to a cat stance. My back hand is going to come up, and then I'm going to poke, snake tongue. Okay? This again is more for the aesthetic if we were doing it in a form. So you take your time to reach out. You can do a little extra snaky withdrawal as the hand comes back here. Okay? So putting it all together, we've got 1, 2, 3, step, open, turn, kick, snake tongue. And there you have it. Okay, so there you have it. Now, I do want to point out that this has both the showmanship side to it and the practical side to it. So this is used as an opening for a lot of forms, whether it's the single person form or a 2-person form. It exhibits a lot with the fancy butterfly kick and then the snake tongue coming out like that. But on a practical note, the moving back is something that you can translate into self-defense, as when somebody's moving in, the reaction is just to jam them right in the throat with the fingertips. Or in a combat sport context, you're not going to be poking people in the eyes. You're not going to be poking them in the throat, because that's just mean. You're a bad partner. You're going to blind your friends, and nobody's going to want to train with you. So you don't do that in combat sports. It is effective though. So in a fighting context, the concept you can apply to combat sports is keeping your fists closed, and then as you're retreating, striking. You don't want to just think that just because you're moving back means that you're at the disadvantage, you're on defense, you can only be in blocking mode. You use this to create distance and then take advantage of when you check their balance or when they plant too hard on one foot, then you can move in and follow up with your technique, whether you're going to counter punch, kick, knee, or go in for a throw. Okay, so a lot of options just on that first part on the retreating. The jump kick, in practical application, unless the timing's just right and you've practiced it a lot, keep your feet on the ground. It's much easier to accomplish a good kick while your feet are still down. And then that last position, going nice and slow with the fingertips wiggling, is more for show. But again, this is a really nice one to go up to the eyes. And it's something where you don't need to generate a lot of power for it to be effective. If you're in the clinch and you're in close, somebody's striking you, you're in your guard, they move in, you find that opening, this is something where you can just reach out and then just jam them in the eyes, and you're going to find it's very effective. So it does have its context and place where it's useful, but it's up to you and how you train it to make it applicable. I know I talk a lot like this on the snake videos and the tiger videos, but that's because a lot of people look at animal styles as like, oh, it's so flashy, it's so cool, but at the same time, they think it's not effective. So looks are one thing, effectiveness is important, but that comes from a little more study of the art, and that's something I try to provide when I work with my students. So if you were to work with me in person, you would learn the movements at a much better pace for you to learn. I wouldn't just jam it, like go through all these movements back to back. We would take our time, and then once you get those down, we work on striking. And with snake, we focus on accuracy, and then we would be striking some softer pads so that you don't end up injuring yourself and have to sit out of training until you can develop the conditioning to strike harder pads. And then at that point, we focus on drills where we develop more timing, where I throw a punch, you block, you strike, and then we progressively make it more freestyle and live and more difficult. So you get a little more stress and pressure to where it almost becomes sparring, but still a controlled drill. And those are the things that I try to offer to my students when working with them in person. But of course, I can't do that for you online. So it's up to you to do a lot more work on your end to make this work. If you don't do it and you just do it for the looks, that's all you're going to have, okay? So, like I said, I add these in on these ones because we tend to misrepresent the animals when we look at Kung Fu. It can't be a separate style by itself, like, oh, I learned snake form, so that's all I ever need. You have to know how to punch, kick, elbow, knee, throw, and work on the ground. That's a given. You have to have the fundamentals of fighting. But you can throw these in as add-ons to your already developed fighting style, and that will make them effective. All right, that's all I'm going to say. I'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye.